Hello and welcome to another edition of Extreme Voltage. Your host, my name, D. Melkonian, and today we're going to be discussing the 2025 free agency period. Yes, it's been over a week now, and the Chargers have dealt right in. We're going to discuss the number of pickups, including Najee Harris, re-signing of Khalil Mack, and Mike Williams coming back. So we're going to discuss all those, give you some grades on what we're looking at and how we feel this roster is being constructed, but more importantly, how the free agency period has been attacked this week. Also lost some players. We're going to go over that. This is our part one of the offseason as we discuss more in detail about your 2025 Charger. So stick around. We'll get right to you about Extreme Voltage. Free agency 2025 started last Monday, officially, right, with the tampering season, official tampering season. Chargers got quickly off the gates and re-signing Khalil Mack, 1 year, $18 million. That was a good situation. Well, let me go back a little bit before that. Joey Bosa, nine-year supercharger, right, regarding San Diego Chargers back in the day, drafted third overall. Great career. You know, last few years, obviously, been some issues with injuries, a little bit frustrating, a loss of many games throughout the last 3-4 years. So that's been, I think, a lot frustrating for a lot of Charger fans. Didn't see Joey Bosa the last 3-4 years the way he should have really been without this injury bug just attacking him. So I think that was pretty much a lot of lost productivity from Joey. He'll be the first one to tell you as well. But Joey Bosa was obviously released. And that was going to count about $35 million on the Chargers salary cap. By releasing him now, basically the Chargers got hit with about $11 million dead money, but get that salary off the books for them. Could not trade him. Again, he has a salary correction. His salary this year was about $25 million. Could not trade him for that price. So basically, you're like a lot of veteran players out there that are really great, but yet exceeded their years based on their worth. They're going to get cut, just like a Cooper Kupp did this week, right? Can't really trade that kind of contract. You're going to cut and have the next person negotiate, get that. And, of course, he goes to Buffalo Bills. So congratulations, Joey. Good luck to you, Buffalo. So that was it. Khalil Mack, the Chargers, Joe Ortiz and the crew felt as though he has another year on him at least, give him that 1 year, $18 million. Along with another $8 million in dead money, they did a restructure last year to keep Joey for Khalil on the books. So Khalil Mack comes back, 1 year, $18 million. I think that's a really strong, good number for him. He was going to probably get more than at least 20 plus on the open market. So I think a great job of at least solidifying one side of that edge rushing issue. Look, you have Tuli Tuipulotu on the other side, which is great. You're going to need that. But I think, and as we go through this podcast, we'll talk about needs in the draft, because this is really a marriage of free agency and draft needs coming up. We're only about a month away from the draft, so you really can't separate it. Let's go back again. That Tuli Tuipulotu on the right side, Khalil on the left, let's say, we have to add an edge rusher. And that has not been addressed thus far with 1 week in free agency. Edge rusher has not been picked up. There are a few names left, but again, how much of that is going to be strong? Well, I don't think it's going to happen in free agency is what I'm trying to say. You still have Bud Dupree there as well. So you got some guys, you got some younger guys coming in. So I think what's going to eventually happen is the Chargers' first 3 rounds are looking at edge rusher. I know the whole tight end, running back, receiver question is there for the first round or what have you. That's fine. I really don't care. There are a number of needs they're going to need to be addressed, including those that we just talked about. But I think edge rusher is crucial. And can you find some edge rushers later in the rounds? Sure, you can. But I think first 3 rounds is where you're looking at, because it is a need spot, because you're going in there with 2 people right now with Khalil and Tuli, and Bud is a good change of pace. Give these guys a blow here and there, but you can't count on him for that many snaps at his age group, including Khalil Mack. Khalil is also that age group where you're not going to be counting upon him 17 games, that many snaps and reps. So I think edge rusher or 2 is definitely going to be in the mix. Again, good situation on Khalil. Positive signing. So good to go on that one. Came back with Najee Harris, which I thought was really strong. I like that move a lot. I know a lot of people might not be that impressed with Najee. Only rushed for 1,000 yards every time he's been on in a season with Pittsburgh. Great 4 years with the Steelers. Look, is he a flashy back? No, not that flashy. He's not going to break away and give you those ESPN highlight numbers. But with the right kind of offense, which this offense is, with Roman, then you're going to be seeing a lot more of those 4, 5, 10, 15-yard chunk plays. And I think that's going to be what this Charger team needs, right? And what a lot of team needs. Strong running back through the trenches, A gap, B gap, attacks those, and has the capability of going outside and taking it for you for 10, 15, 20-yard plus gains. I think that's what this offense is being built upon. And so in that aspect, I like Najee Harris a lot. Now, you're going to sprinkle that, right? You're going to sprinkle that. You have Vidal, who's coming back to the second year. Running back. You're going to be change up pace back hopefully this year. Again, even more reps than last year because he was very limited last year, right? Didn't see the field first 8 or 9 games, quite honestly, even like a sprinkle of Vidal throughout. But maybe later on you got a little more taste of him. But in regards to what I think he can bring and what they're going to envision him, and we'll see that through the draft. And I think they're going to pick up a running back or two in the draft. And I think that's where they're headed in regards to what this coaching staff thinks you're going to have with Vidal. But that's that. Hassan Haskins, right? That's another back that is still in your barn that you can still play out there. And you've shown that he's a bigger back that can play well, short yardage and what have you. So you got those 3 guys right now. Again, not barn burners, but I think you're going to add to that in the draft process. The biggest question is, do they bring back J.K. Dobbins? As of now, it's Sunday, and we haven't seen a J.K. Signing yet with anyone. So it looks to me, though, as Joe Ortiz has said, hey, go out there, obviously like the Raven way of old, go out there and try to see what numbers you got from a team. Come back to us if you like, and we'll try to match that if we're interested. I think that's where they're at. And I think the biggest issue, of course, Jay Gay, and no surprise there, is the injury history with him, right? And that's not an easy Achilles, knee, MCL. Those are things that you have to really think about before you kind of put that kind of numbers in regards to the amount you're paying for somebody. So that's been an issue. Do they bring JK back? I don't know. I think now I'll lean to the fact of no, just because you have Najee Harris in there along with Vidal. And I think you're going to add through with the NFL draft because there's so many quality backs coming up. You can actually add 2 backs like we mentioned earlier, one earlier, maybe the 3rd or 4th or 5th, and later on the 6th or 7th. I mean, there's ways of getting these guys that can really compete and play for you. So I think that's where we're at with the running back position. I do like the Najee the issue. 1 year, $9.25 million. That's a good number. That's really good. And I think a good comp that I saw of how Najee can really bring it into the Chargers, and I forgot who was talking about this, but it was a good comp, was David Montgomery, right? Detroit brings in David Montgomery from Chicago, where he did not play superbly, right? He was decent, but he comes in at Detroit and he really starts banging it away. And there you have it. You have part 1 of 2 parts, right? And of course, Gibbs gets drafted that year, a couple years back, and you have the Thunder Lightning approach, similar to what you can have here. Because I think he's going to bring the Thunder, meaning Najee Harris, and I think you're going to sprinkle in some running backs to bring in the Lightning. So I'm looking forward to the draft to see what other running backs are going to be in play. Another issue that occurred is we lost a couple of guys. So we lost Poona Ford, which was a great defensive lineman for us, right? Getting it from Buffalo the year prior at a really prove it contract for 1 year. I think it was like $2 million, I think 2.5. Really good number. And with that, he really performed superbly. Of course, he goes across the hall to the Los Angeles Rams. Very disappointing, where he signs the 2-year contract. So the Chargers lose Poona Ford. What are they going to do? They scramble, and they actually pick up 2 pieces for 1. Not sure if this is going to work the way they want it to work, but this is the plan B, right? I'm pretty sure they wanted to get Poona. They did. They thought he played very well. There was nothing wrong with his game. So it was just a numbering issue, right? It's what he's going to be worth at the open market. And possibly that number was much higher with the Rams than with the Chargers. So what do the Chargers do on this one? They're going to go back and pick up 2 different free agents. And the first one being from Miami, that was Deshaun Hand. So Hand, initially a member of the Lions back in 18 to 21, moved on to the Titans for 1 year, then moved to the Dolphins. 1 year deal. Good, strong player. I've seen a little bit of what he does. Again, he can play that kind of three technique position. Pretty versatile on the line. It's a 1 year, $3.35 million contract. So it's not chump change. He's going to get paid, and they're going to ask for a lot of reps inside. So Deshaun Hand from Miami comes in, and that's part A of handling the Poona Ford situation. Part B was going back in and grabbing the former Arizona Cardinal, Naquan Jones, defensive tackle. And Jones did a really good job last year with the Cardinals. Did play against the Chargers. I think he had actually one of the best games against the Chargers in Arizona. Really good run stuffer and brings a lot of pressure as well, coming off a career high in sacks of 3, and also a strong career in quarterback hits. So I think a combination of both Jones and Deshaun Hand, I think, will hopefully prove up to be a good Poona Ford substitution. So we'll see. Also, we lost Morgan Fox, it looks like. So I think these two coming in are going to replace what Fox and Poona had going on, which is a big ask because I thought the D tackles really did a good job last year with the Chargers. I think looking in last year, that was probably one of the weaknesses coming in. I think people kind of thought, okay, this might not be a strong D-line, but Poona Ford and Fox, I think Morgan Fox really brought that consistency to the D-line. So again, it's what you're looking at. We'll see how that's addressed in regards to how these guys can hold up. Jones also signed a 1 year contract on that as well. So we'll see. It's not a long-term commitment, these guys, and I think the way the Chargers are working with the free agency in regards to D linemen is they're not giving them long-term contracts based on 2 years now that we've seen it. It's always a prove-it deal for a year and move on. I think they're kind of worried about giving a big man a large contract, and it just seems like they want a hungry defensive lineman at all times. And I think that's good to have. I think it's important for competition and for them to prove it every year. But they're not looking into that long-term D lineman high-price contract, which you're going to end up paying. That, I think, will change based on draft strategy. You get a young stud coming in here, you don't want to lose that guy, and you've seen what he's worth and what he's doing. Then I think they're going to invest in that. But they're not doing the investment on a long-term commitment for a free agency coming. And that's overall. And that's what we've seen as well from last year. So Chargers move on and grab those guys on the D-line front. On the corner front, they picked up a couple of corners. They lost. Christian Fulton goes to the Kansas City Chiefs. Pretty good payday for Christian Fulton as well. He locks in with 2 years, $20 million contract, 15 guaranteed from Kansas City. So that's a nice payday. Obviously, the Chargers did not want to sign him for that number. I know they liked him. Really had a good season, I thought, for the Chargers. A little bit of breakdowns latter part of the year. Injuries. Again, that's something he's dealt with in his Tennessee Titan days as well. Some injuries flared up where he missed some games. Some blown coverages. It happens to all these corners. It does occur. But I don't think the Chargers wanted to give up that much. The 2 years, 20 was out of the price range. I think it was more of a 2 year, 10 to 12. I think they might have done it. Who knows? But in regards to that, they lost Fulton. So they had to come back and grab what they had. Obviously, Asante Samuel, by the way, still not signed as a free agency, looms here for second week. And are we surprised? I'm not. Asante, really good cover corner, but extremely limited on his run game. Stopping that run, I think, really hurt him. That Jacksonville Jaguar game, even though he picked up so many nice interceptions in that playoff game, you saw the liabilities on him on the outside, where just cannot make tackles. And I think that's one of the things where he's at risk. Also, the stinger injury that he's suffered and he has issues with in his shoulder, that could be a problem for him not getting signed. But let's not worry Asante, because he's not going to get brought back by the Chargers. That's not something I'm looking at. So what they do, they go out there and they grabbed a couple guys, which I thought was kind of interesting. I'm not sure how excited I am about it, just because they have a little bit of checkered histories on both. They picked up Benjamin St-Juste, and I don't know much about him, except being a 6'3", 200-pound guy, which the Chargers like the bigger corner concept, and I think he would do well in man coverage. But I think I think he's 115th ranked in PFF. And I saw that recently, and I didn't like his ranking. Very inconsistent in his 4 years. So that was one of the issues. But I think if you bring him in the right place and kind of coach him up, they're hoping to maybe get him in as a rotational corner, especially with this size against the run. That might be something, or even the red zone. That might be something that would be a productive issue, maybe in space with that kind of size and that inconsistency, especially what I've heard about him. Scouting report is a lot of grabbing going on, a lot of PIs happening downfield. If you put him into a rundown situation and you put him in the red zone and tight third downs, I think hopefully that would be the place to play a big man like that. It'll hopefully crack down the fact that he might be a little handy and more grabbing going on when you have a wide open field. So that was one pickup in regards to the corner route. The second was going to be Donte Jackson, cornerback that was first with the Carolina Panthers, then went to the Steelers. He signs a 2-year deal. And look, Donte Jackson, good corner. I do like him a lot. Was dealt last year in a trade issue. He's got 5 interceptions. That's great to bring in. You want a corner that can give you turnovers and is a ball hawk. So he has that in him. He has great ball instincts. And again, projecting him in the Charger backfield, this is a starter coming in, right? He can easily lock down one spot, have Cam Hart or Tarheeb still lock down another, most probably Cam on the other side, and then bring in Tarheeb on the slot is what they're probably looking at. So this is good. 2 years, $13 million. It's a pretty significant contract for him. That's starter money. So I'm looking at Donte Jackson coming in and providing some stability on that side. I think, quite honestly, Donte Jackson is going to be your Christian Fulton for this year and next. That's what they're hoping for. And he turns 30 years old, so still a good age for a corner. Still have some really good quickness. And again, the ball hawking is really important factor of it. So I do like the fact they got Donte Jackson. I think it's a good spot for him to come in here. The backup quarterback spot was taken into consideration, and Ortiz went out and grabbed, or I should say re-signed, Taylor Heinicke. Taylor Heinicke was brought in last year, I believe, with a 6th-round draft pick on the trade. Did a good job, and I think his skills as a runner as well as a passer is really a good mixture here for the Chargers. So again, he only completed 3 of 5 passes last year for 28 yards, which that's what you want for a second-string quarterback, right? You don't want him coming in too long because it seems like there's an issue with your quarterback. So let's keep Justin healthy, knock on wood. But it's always great to have a solid backup coming in here. Played for the Washington Commanders back in the day as well, so he has a nice little background. And when he started back then, good quarterback. So I'm glad he was brought in for that to solidify that quarterback issue. Now, a big one that occurred, which I think was pretty big for a lot of Charger fans, is getting Mike Williams back, right? And that was nice to get. Now, what kind of Mike Williams are you getting? Are you getting the Mike Williams? Probably not, based on that injury for the ACL a couple of years back here. However, he's been 1 year removed now from that ACL, so you're hoping with the familiarity with Justin and hopefully with this offense, I think that's a strong suit for him, and I think that really will bring in some quality reps from Mike Williams here. And I know he's really happy to be back. Yeah, based on the reports and what I read or heard him at his press conference, he did not want to leave the Chargers. These business issues come up. I know he's going to get paid. He was initially going to get paid $20 million plus for that contract that last year, and the restructure didn't work out, unfortunately. And sometimes players leave and they come back, and that's great to see that kind of relationship where he wants to come back to this organization. Didn't feel as though he got thrown out, and he wants to rekindle that Justin Herbert connection, which is fantastic. Because I think having Mike Williams as a number one, or I should say as the X receiver, okay, the X is going to be that the isolated receiver, which is the big man outside. That's what you want. A lot of those are your number one receivers. In this organization right now is Ladd McConkey, right? He's your number one now. He can play the X, but he's better served playing a Y or a Z spot. That way he's kind of mixed in to the slot, to the outside the slot, and there's a lot more traffic in there. He's not exposed as the X being solely by himself, but can he go to the X spot and have Mike come in, Big Mike come in? Absolutely. And I think interchangeability is going to be a factor in this offense. So that is a huge plus to have Mike Williams in here as a ball hawk. So now you can't double and triple Ladd. you got to put some protection onto Mike's side because those 50-50 balls are easily 70-30, okay? And he's going to go out there and then win those matchups. One of the best in the NFL on the 50-50 balls. It's not even fair. So now you have to allocate him as a corner or safety. You can no longer double Ladd. And that only opens up Quentin Johnston's role, right? I think having Mike Williams here, because, when Quentin came in, he was dubbed the next Mike Williams, which hasn't come to play yet. The inconsistencies with the hands have been an issue. But I think once we see Mike back in fold here, I think that will really translate, hopefully, to giving some guidance possibly on what Quentin's going to be doing in his game improvement. Again, Quentin did improve last year with his hands. Again, inconsistencies did come up to bite, and he has those drops, which he's been struggling the first 2 years. So I think Mike here, takes a little bit of that pressure off and hopefully gives him that time to kind of reflect and see what this professional is doing and how he can improve his game. So I'm excited. I think good players getting surrounded by great players is a huge factor, and I think they can only become better because of it. And I'm not saying Mike has to mentor anybody. That's not his job here. He's not a coach. He is a player, and he's got to be on the field. He's got to make his production. But I think players such as Quentin need to watch a professional at work and see what they need to do to improve themselves in areas of weakness. Because I guarantee you, these players coming out and playing in the NFL, there is always something you can do to improve yourself upon. And having great players in front of you only helps players that are new and trying to improve to become better, much better in their craft, rather than just watching average, ordinary Joes out there. So I love the fact we got Mike Williams. I'm hoping he brings what he brought a number of years here with the Chargers. If he can be 75%, 80% of who he was before that ACL, I think it's a huge victory, especially with the commitment they've given him with the monetary aspect of it. I think he's doing fine. It's a one-year contract, so let's see how that works. If the Chargers believe in him, that he can do more than that, great. Otherwise, you've got a good one-year bridge receiver until you pick up another one. And look, I think draft-wise, and we'll get into that here in a few minutes as we wrap it up, I think that's what we're leading into as well for the new breed coming in. Wrapping it up, Denzel Perryman re-signs. Love Denzel. Thumper had some injury issues latter part of the year, missed some games, but he provides such a strong, aggressive style of defense and really makes an impact on that run game. Love the way he's playing. So I think he's also a great mentor as he plays with Junior Colson, trying to get those reps coming in. I think having Denzel in front of him and showing what a true linebacker looks like. I'm very excited to get him back, and it looks like he's signed for another year as well. So good to see that. Love it. Bigger news on that is Elijah Molden was signed to a 3-year contract right before free agency occurred. Had a great season last year with the Chargers. Really great. Showed that he's a really good ball hawk. So a number of interceptions last year. So I believe he had 3 interceptions, 75 total tackles, 7 passes defended, and 2 fumble recoveries. There's a part-time player who doesn't really start on safety, but he comes in and with those packages where Derwin comes up and plays a slot, you'll find Elijah up there with Alohi Gilman, and I think they did a fantastic job. And Elijah really got some great service on this. So I'm glad he's got extended. So a 3-year contract. Excited about that. And a couple of other extensions that came through. Jalen Reagor, wide receiver, that came in last year. Look, he might not be an exciting receiver, but I think veteran receiver that was picked up in a first round number of years ago that hasn't fulfilled that expectation. And again, the Chargers see something in him. Putting him in the fold here, I think that'll be a good factor. I'm excited to see what Jalen Reagor can do. He had some standout games last year where he kind of really flashed in the latter part of the season when he had some opportunities. So I'm excited to see if Jalen Reagor can actually reclaim that first round status and become that kind of receiver. So at least he's in the fold to get in here and get some reps and see if he can crack that 5-man squad or 6-man squad for the receiver side. Troy Dye, linebacker, gets re-upped. Nick Niemann walked in free agency. Troy Dye is a huge special team player, so I'm excited about him coming back. Oregon starter back in the day, really does a great job Just a great nose for the ball, as you would say. He's always around the action. Really great instinctive player. So I like the fact we got him again. One of the best special team players for the Chargers. So re-signed as well. T.R. Tart really came in latter part of the year and just really created a lot of havoc on that D-line. So extension came through for T.R. Tart as well. Excited to see what he's going to do with that mix of new guys that came through. J.K. Scott, punter, had an over 80% in his PFF grade for Pro Football Focus. Look, some inconsistencies in J.K. Scott last year, however, still a very solid punter. Keeps the whole special teams unit intact with Cameron Dicker and the holder. So I think that is solid, and I think to have a really good season with J.K. is going to be crucial. Bradley Bozeman was surprisingly extended, and I thought, like many other Charger fans and analysts looking in, a weakness on the offensive line front between him and Zion Johnson and Trey Pipkins. Those were the problem factors interior offensive line. However, the Chargers disagreed, and they brought Bradley Bozeman back. Now, there's a caveat to this, right? They like Bozeman, but Joe Ortiz explained as such during the Combine this year that they're going to be potentially experimenting with Zion Johnson moving from his left guard spot to playing center. They think he could do a really good job. They've only seen him do that, I believe, in the Combine portions of the workouts. But I'm sure they initially saw that in him, but I'm sure they've practiced with him and worked with him on that. So if they're already kind of publicly talking about that, that means there was enough done in the offseason that the coaches can project that Johnson can move into that center position and do it the right way. So if that's the case, that's a huge relief off the Chargers, because Bozeman can now be the swing guard, the starting guard, or a backup center, or both. So that's what you're looking at. So Zion comes in and takes over that center spot. You've got Bozeman as the left guard for now. Again, he can be a swing guard, going back and forth, and a swing center. So that's flexibility on the offensive line. Now you can go back and try to grab another guard in free agency, which of course they did with a huge signing of Mekhi Becton, which was fantastic. And that signing alone, 2 years, $20 million, really solidifies that guard spot. Now, where is he going to play, right? Mekhi Becton, did not have a good, 3-4 years at the New York Jets as a tackle, goes to Philadelphia as a reclamation project, and just blows up as a guard. Such a big, massive man. Played right guard with Philadelphia Eagles, got himself a Super Bowl ring, blocked for Saquon Barkley, and showed his worth. And I think there was, the Chargers, even though it took a few days to get him, I think that was a key acquisition. 2 years, $20 million, as we said. Listen, is he going to take Trey Pipkin's spot? Is he going to take Zion's spot? Not sure yet. I think the fact that they have not released Trey Pipkins yet, and he's due over $9 million this year, is relevant. That means if they're not going to do that, which I don't think they're doing it, that means Trey stays. Now, would they want Mekhi to stay at the right guard spot so he feels more comfortable, and not move him again to another spot? So preferably play him at the right guard, move Trey Pipkins over to the left guard spot, right? Let him have the pressure of playing that spot, which I think he can, because Trey also played left tackle, right, back in the day coming up. So let's do that. Let's put him at the left guard spot for Trey. Zion goes to center, and now you got Bozeman, like we said before, playing the swing guard and backup center position. That is a potential, right? That's a potential. Or if Zion stays where he's at the left guard spot, then you easily put in Becton in the right guard spot, and now Trey Pipkins is going to be your swing guard. Obviously a $9 million hit to have a backup guard, but that's what you're looking at potentially. That might be an issue as well. So we'll take a look and see. What I'm thinking is going to happen is Zion moves to center, and I think the guard spots will be taken by Mekhi Becton, and Trey will get kicked over to the left guard spot at that price you're paying. Otherwise, there's going to be a release. There's no way you're going to pay almost close to $10 million for a backup guard. That usually is not happening. So Great stuff on the offensive line. What we're going to talk about next when we come back next week is the draft issue. Right, and I think the primary areas I'm going to discuss about the draft, what the Chargers will be looking at, it might surprise you a little bit, but I think guard is in the mix. Right, I think a new guard is definitely in the mix because there's got to be that new generation happening here. Zion is going into his last year. Is he going to be signing for that fifth year or not? Like next year, we'll see how it goes. Mekhi is good for 2 years. Trey Pipkins last year on the contract, and of course Bozeman is just on a 1-year status. So there's a lot of offensive line movements happening. Thank God both tackle spots are secure. Hopefully by then they'll be securing Rashawn Slater's spot for a multi-year contract. He's currently playing on his 5th year option. So those are the good stuff we'll be discussing next few weeks. Otherwise, good start of free agency. A lot of holes were taken care of, right? Maybe not as exciting as we wanted to see. We didn't get the top receiver we kind of wanted, but it's nice to have a Mike Williams come back and see a nice familiar face back into the fold. Other stuff could be happening. The Najee Harris running back spot was nice to see. Mekhi Becton coming in, solidifying that offensive line. Those are great positives. We'll see how the corners will pan out. We'll see how the defensive line works through with the new names and faces coming through. Hey, it's a work in progress. This is only part 1 of the free agency. We'll get back again next week or two and see what the next phase of free agency is looking like. Before we leave, I just wanted to acknowledge Kevin MacLeod for the great music played on this podcast. Burn the World, The Ice Giants, and Strength of the Titans. You can find Kevin MacLeod at Incompetech.com for all your music pleasures. This is D. Melconia. We appreciate you following us. Tell your friends about it. Find us next time on Extreme Voltage. Take care and bolt up.